right, media titan Sir Martin Sorrell recently founded the tech-savvy advertising company S4 Capital. Its mission to create a new era of media in the digital age. But this new venture also has Sir Martin reflecting on his upbringing in London and how the internet can be an extremely divisive platform. Sorrell sat down with Kristians from our partners at Cheddar and discussed his life, his firm, and fighting hate online.
Martin, thanks for joining me. For our viewers around the world and those based in Israel, I want to start by asking about your background. We do have a largely Jewish audience watching, and many people know you as a successful advertising executive. What about your upbringing and beliefs led you to the successful business career that you've had?
I don't know whether it was the background or not, Kristian, but I was born in northwest London in what I refer to as the ghetto of Golders Green and Mill Hill. Only child of two Jewish parents. My grandparents came from the Ukraine, actually on my father's side in 1899. And on my mother's side, my grandmother came from Romania, from Bucharest, and my grandfather came from Warsaw in Poland. So they came between the two world wars.
Wow. Well, look, with your Jewish background and location there in London, which is where you're joining us from, I got to ask you about the rise that we've seen in anti-Semitic attacks recently. A record 892 incidents reported in Britain just for the first half of this year. That's up 10% from the same time a year ago. What do you think is driving this?
Well, it is worrying, and you see tendencies around the world for extremists. In a world where populism, for I think understandable reasons, is becoming more prevalent, you are seeing people become more extreme in their views. So the inequality or the growth in inequality that we've seen in many, particularly the mature economies, but also of the what I call the fast-growing economies, it is a contributory factor. And with the impact of technology and the improvements that brings, there is a concern that technology reduces the opportunities for employment. I happen to agree with that. I think improvements in technology probably are a net destroyer of jobs. And what that means is that you see severe dislocation in industrial areas. You go to certain parts of the United States, here in the UK, you go outside London, particularly in the North and Midlands, and you see areas that have been affected, some devastated. High Street is being highly affected by what we've seen in terms of online commerce, shops closing, department stores closing. But in manufacturing industry, the big changes that digital transformation have brought, which on balance will be positive for society, I believe. But one of the results is to reduce the opportunities of employment. Since Lehman in 2008, we've also seen wages, real wages, stagnant or static, hollowing out of the middle class, or the so-called middle class. And that's a phrase that's used loosely and widely, but I think you know what I mean. And as a result, there is a lot of trepidation, fear about the future, fear about job prospects. And I think that drives people to the extremes. You often see parties, and you see this with the Democrats and the Republicans, narrow groups of people in control. And I think you see those extremes elsewhere in the world and in different situations. What's done about it? Well, I think it is a bit of apple pie and motherhood, in the sense that where you see these dislocations from technology, where you see areas, geographic areas or industries being affected very significantly, negatively, I think what the state, what governments, and indeed private business, the private sector has to do is to invest in, it's easy to say but difficult to do, in education, retraining, mobility, infrastructure, in order to improve the prospects in those areas. Because the changes that we're seeing, you see it in our own industry, and you know it from Cheddar, and what Cheddar has done over the years. And Cheddar is a good example of the changes that have taken place in digital media and media communications. When you see these changes, what you have to do is to have to adjust very rapidly, very quickly, and to do that, you need investment, as I say, in areas such as education and retraining, in areas such as infrastructure, and in mobility, because workforce has to be much more mobile.
Look, I think you bring up a great point in talking about the digital role, and more than a third of those incidents, nearly 900 of them taking place in Britain in the first half of this year, did take place on social media. And so, yes, the onus is on all of us, but what role specifically do you think media and tech companies have in policing this type of content to make sure that it doesn't get out of control on their platforms?
I've always said that the platforms are media companies. You know, Google, Facebook, Amazon are media companies, just like television companies, newspaper companies, magazine companies, companies that you've worked for. These are media companies. They are not technology companies. And Google now employs about 10,000 people to monitor editorial. Facebook monitors editorial with about 30,000 people. So what we're seeing is those tech companies starting to understand that they have a responsibility to monitor the content, police the content, edit the content in an effective way. They can't disclaim responsibility for the digital feeds that go through their digital pipes. You know, they can't say we're digital engineers just tightening the digital pipes with our digital spanners. What they have to say, what they have to do is to take responsibility, just like you take responsibility for what you say and what I say on your channel. I think others have to take responsibility for it as well.